Welcome everybody back to Veil of Sound. Yes, you're seeing correctly. This is the first interview for this year's Roadburn special. And I'm very happy to do exactly what Roadburn is doing. Bring artists that not a lot of people might know, even though they should. I'm very happy to have Mark from Choke Shane here on the show. Mark, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you.
Hmm.
Um, First thing that I always ask is any kind of band merch, shirt, stuff that you would like to plug. Tomorrow is Bandcamp Friday, so maybe you got
Oh,
something. I'll give you a moment to think.
okay.
I want to plug my friends in convulsive Swiss free jazz noise, avant-garde, whatever you want to call it. Have you got something by your own band or a friend's band project?
Yeah. So there's a new band from my hometown, which is like a smaller town. They're called Be Wary, BE space WARY. It's like old school kind of synth punk
Okay.
stuff. And I kind of just appreciate that there's still weird bands coming from where I grew up. So, and they just put out a few singles recently, so figure they're probably the best person I could think of to plug.
So for everybody who wants to find them as usual, just look into our text beneath this interview and you will
Yeah.
find it. The other thing that I always like to ask is where are we catching you right now? It seems like your music room, but where is that
Yeah.
music room?
I mean, I'm in Milwaukee, you know. But yeah, this is like just my studio. Every This is just like my like any nerd related thing is in this room basically. Yeah, and I keep it separate from everything else. I don't know. Like my partner doesn't want to be surrounded by a bunch of records and anime stuff and video games. So she's like, "You have this room." Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I know exactly what you're talking about. I also got one
Yeah.
of these rooms. My
Yeah.
wife wouldn't let a lot of st my stuff in there.
Right.
In the normal realms. But yes, you've just said it, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hmm.
Um, your music doesn't sound like Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It sounds more like Chicago, New
Yeah.
York, something even bigger than Milwaukee and
Right.
a lot more hectic.
Yeah.
Are you
I mean,
aware of that?
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm really close to Chicago as it is. Like I'm like an hour from Milwaukee's like an hour from Chicago if you speed down the highway, basically. So I don't know. I'm actually really influenced by like European industrial, probably more than like
Hmm.
Chicago industrial,
Hmm.
but I still do like have like an amount of pride in like being involved with that general like Midwest industrial thing, you know? Uh and so there's like I'd say there's like a little bit of that in my music, kind of like older ministry
Hmm.
more than anything, you know? Um, but yeah, I mean, like the old school Chicago thing uh is influential to me.
You said that you're influenced by European industrial. Is it also like European, maybe synth stuff from the
Uh
80s?
yeah. I mean, yeah. So my thing is like a little more varied influence-wise than I think people can pick up on.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like my stuff is really influenced uh by like yeah, by like just general synth stuff and like synth punk,
Hmm.
even like old school death rock
Hmm.
and like goth stuff, but then also like crust punk and like anarcho punk and like sludge stuff. Like that's why I'm really happy I'm playing like this festival in particular because like sure my thing is like an industrial thing, but like
Yeah.
it comes from like the mindset of somebody who grew up going to punk shows and like punk is like the like most important thing in their entire life.
Hmm.
And like heavy music and like visceral, angry, heavy stuff. you
Mhm.
know?
Would you agree that the last remnant of punk in your
Mhm.
music is really the vocals?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. So my favorite band ever is a punk band called Rudiment 9.
Yeah.
That's my favorite band ever. And then another influence that's really big on my vocals is the band Dystopia.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, like I would definitely say like the vocals are the biggest punk thing and also like the production.
Mhm.
Like what I try and do is make industrial records that sound like shitty crust punk records. Like on purpose, you know?
Yeah.
Because like
Uh,
I'm trying to like pay homage to that important part of my life,
mhm.
still while doing a very industrial focused thing.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense when listening to
Mhm,
it.
mhm.
There is a certain, for lack of a better word, lo-fi-ness about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like totally intentional for sure.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, but then let me ask it this way: how do you then write the songs? Do you already write them in this certain kind of lo-fi style, or do you
Yeah.
first write them and then rearrange them?
No. So I write like 75% of my songs are written on samplers.
Mhm.
So then I can downsample everything to make like the quality of the sound that's going in like worse on purpose,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep.
And I do that for like every single part of the song, basically. So when I'm already recording it into the DAW, it's already downsampled, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it already has that like grittiness and like all those like artifacts from the downsampling. And like I do that one, like I said, because I'm influenced by like shitty crust punk records and stuff. But like I'm also influenced by the industrial bands from like the late 80s and 90s who that's all they had is are those samplers that I'm using, you know? And I
Mhm.
really like that sound and I feel like it very much like places me like in like the part of the industrial scene that I want to be. Like I'm very much trying to do a specific thing
Mhm.
and that's just one of like the hallmarks of that specific thing, like old frontline assembly, like
Mhm.
90s frontline assembly, and like old skinny puppy and like leather strip and that kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah. The more I hear you rave about music, the more I recognize it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, would you agree that your music is equally adaptable for a rave than it is adaptable
yeah, well, yeah,
for a basement punk show?
yeah. That's like what I try and that's kind of like what I try and do is like I want it to be like a dance oriented like
Mhm.
EBM industrial thing.
Mhm.
But I also want to be able to play with punk bands and have people
Mhm.
who like understand where I'm coming from, like also appreciate it in that way.
Mhm.
Um, and like that's been really cool to be able to like interact with heavy music people and have them
Mhm.
like without even having ever met me before, like hearing the music and like understanding what it is I'm trying to do and like coming from the same wavelength as somebody who's just doing a more traditional heavy thing.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Um, is it then important for you that when you play gigs with bands that might not be, or projects that might not be from the same industrial punk synth thing realm,
Mhm.
that you then play last?
Uh, did I play last?
Yeah.
No, I'll play whenever, you know, like I like even though I've started to do like I hate to be this way, but like bigger stuff, you know, like
Hmm.
play bigger venues and like with bands that are bigger than me and stuff.
Hmm.
Like I don't see playing a show as anything other than just like playing a show. Like it's not me trying to like prove anything to anybody, or
Yeah.
it's not me trying to like impress people by my being different than them or anything. Like
Hmm.
I'm just playing a show because I do a music thing and like wherever I play is wherever I play, and whatever
Hmm.
people think about it is whatever
Hmm.
they think about it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Um, Something that strikes me now that I'm talking to you is it
Yeah,
seems that there is a striking difference between you, Mark,
yeah, yeah,
and Choke Chain.
yeah. Well, yeah. There,
Is
so
Choke Chain the catharsis that you need to be a sane
yeah,
person?
yeah. Uh, it's kind of like the way I like to like think of it and like describe it if somebody actually asks that question is like
Mhm,
those are like very split second
mhm,
feelings and emotions.
mhm,
Like that's not my constant state of
mhm,
existence. Like it's a part of my state of existence that I don't like, but it's not like the
mhm,
defining feature of my existence, you
mhm.
know. Um, the reason why, I guess, like more directly, like the reason why I write about the things I do and like the aesthetic is what it is
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff is like the world like completely lacks kindness and like empathy and understanding. And
Mhm,
that's me like totally like fighting back against that.
mhm,
Like that's me like rejecting the lack of kindness in
mhm,
the world. And like
mhm,
in a way, in a different way, it's almost like forcing people who need to be exposed to their lack of kindness within themselves, like them being like bombarded with
mhm.
that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah, I
think
know.
some people kind of need that in their life. And
Mhm.
not to say like, oh, I'm gonna like help them or fix them. Like bad people just need to be shown that they're bad people.
Yes, that's true. Um, when I was reading up on the lyrics of the last full length on
Hmm. Hmm.
mortality, sorry,
Hmm.
I I wondered whether you know a German word which is Weltschmerz.
I don't. No.
It's because I've thought about it, and it is the pain that you feel because of the state of a world.
Yeah, that's absolutely what the entirety of the project is, basically. Yeah.
Because looking at your Bandcamp, there is a very interesting line beneath the tracks of mortality. You
Yeah.
say, "What you do in life means nothing in death. Always remember."
Yeah.
Is that the downcast, disillusioned Mark, or is it Mark being a realistic person?
That's I think that's me being just like in my depression,
Hmm.
in my like hopelessness. You
Hmm.
know, because like I do have that that's a
Hmm.
part of like what I struggle with in existence,
Yeah.
you know. Um and so when I'm in my really bad states, I do think that. And like I kind of say that specific statement to say that to people who are like totally like completely like controlled by like their own weird arrogance
Hmm.
and like their own like need to like be important to other
Hmm.
people and like be anything other than just a human being. Like a lot of like US dark synth scene people, that's basically for all of those people.
Hmm.
Like I don't know.
People aiming to be more than they can actually be.
Yeah, people that just need to like be important and like there's lots of punching downwards in the American industrial scene, which is like really stupid.
I'm thinking about it. How should I put it? Do you think that a musical project like yours is able to change a few things?
No,
Or, okay,
no.
do you think it's, yeah, you go ahead.
Like I do this in spite of knowing that like
Hmm.
my thing isn't gonna change any of those people.
Hmm.
I just think it's better to say something about it
Hmm.
than say in this room and be
Hmm.
miserable about it and do
Yeah.
nothing.
Hmm.
Um and like I don't really sincerely say any of those things out of like hatred for other people and like in this like malice towards the subset of people that I just listed that statement might be about. Like I do all these things and I try and say all these things in the hope that something good can come out of it
Hmm.
for anybody at all. You know what I mean? Myself or somebody listening to it or whatever. I just sometimes think people need to be confronted about what they do in a way that makes them think about it rather than be nice about it
Hmm.
sometimes,
Hmm.
you know? Because like life isn't kind, you know. So
For most people, it's definitely not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's definitely true. Um, I was wondering, right now, there is this Jewish or Hebrew saying that if you save one life, you've saved a whole world.
Hmm.
Would that already be enough to you if you knew, like, okay, I've changed one person's life?
Uh, yes, so
I
here's
mean,
what I
like,
think.
I know that you don't set out to do it.
So here's what I think about that in particular. I think of it in this way, and this probably won't surprise you now that you've talked to me for a little bit, but somebody who's never talked to me, it probably really
Mhm,
surprises them. So if there's one really fucking messed up like punk rocker kid who hates everybody,
mhm,
everybody hates them, they hate
mhm,
the cops, they hate
mhm.
themselves, they hate, you know what I mean? If there's
Yeah.
one kid like that that I can get to think like differently about things than like that, because I was that person. You
Mhm,
know what I mean? And in some ways I still am like that person.
mhm.
Um, and so if like the way I would be happy for the rest of my life if I knew one fucking messed up kid like that like heard me and like started to think differently about something or found a more positive way to deal with what they're dealing with or whatever, you know. I don't know. That's what I've always kind of thought about that specific thing.
Well, then basically you are already your own brother's keeper because if I
Yeah.
listen, when listening to Choke Chain, it sounds as if it is exactly what you need. What,
Yeah, oh for
but
sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'd probably do terrible shit if I if I didn't have some sort of outlet, as a lot
mhm,
of people would. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, not that I like that, or or not. I think anybody else would like that, but
mhm,
like, the world isn't conducive to like
mhm,
the modern world, especially, isn't conducive to people like being able to figure out their own shit. It's
mhm,
just like all it is like, oh, just consume
yeah.
everything and like nothing is real and if don't try and be real, be something that's not real and pretend like everything is okay, you know, and it's fine.
I have to ask it because I see the guitar in the background.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like looking at the list of machines that you are listing on your Bandcamp,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
how much of the music is machine made and how much
Yeah.
is an analog thing?
So on my newest record that's not out yet, that I'm still working on, there's
Hmm.
actually like bass guitar in it because I'm
Hmm.
predominantly, before anything, I was a bass player.
Hmm.
Um, and I thought that that would just be like satisfying to myself, to put bass in there because I was playing bass in bands for a while and then
Hmm.
I completely stopped doing that just to do synthesizer stuff.
Hmm.
And so I was like, it would probably make me feel better to start playing bass again more seriously. And then I was like, it'd probably make me feel better to put it in a record. So pretty much everything has always been like electronic or sampler based
Hmm.
previously up until the newest record where I have one song where the bass part like is basically a sample of me playing a note on a bass and then sequencing it. I don't know.
Very interesting because, when listening to it, I had the feeling as if 100% of it was done on an electronic device.
Well, so anything that's already out definitely
Hmm.
was,
Ah, okay.
but going forward, I'm trying to just for my own satisfaction, like put a little bit more analog stuff in
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
And like I said, what I did was basically I just sampled myself playing a note, right,
Yeah.
with a bunch of distortion pedals on or whatever, and then I'm sequencing it with one of the samplers. Because what I wanted to play was like pretty impossible to play on an actual bass guitar for me at least. Uh, and so, but then I'm also trying to use it for like textures in the background
Hmm.
too, going forward. Like just a bunch of like just put it through a bunch of pedals and run it like if I was like writing a noise record or something like in the background to
Hmm.
like fill space. I don't know.
So when you think about preparing for Roadburn,
Hmm.
how many of the machines will you be taking or will you be
Uh,
bringing to Europe?
two.
Two.
I use so when I play live,
Mhm.
what I do. Oh, it's right here. One second.
Yeah.
Um, So a majority of all my stuff is written on an MPC Live.
Hmm.
And I can also do my entire live set completely on this.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty dope. Like what I do is like I mix down all the tracks and then I bounce them back in and then I just basically use that as a playback track, but then I
Hmm.
do also like live sampling over top of it. So
Hmm.
there still is an element of me actually doing something tactile, you know?
Yeah.
But my main focus as a performer is to be a frontman, even though I'm a one-person project. Do you know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like, because some people will like, oh, I have a bunch of keyboards and just like sit behind them and play and whatever. But like, I'm trying to like like eh, be like say like be like a hardcore punk vocalist
Hmm.
over industrial. You know what I mean?
I do.
Uh, yeah.
So I have one more question before we come to the infamous quickfire round at the end of
Okay.
every Bale of Sound interviews.
All right.
You were listening to your records and to the stuff that you have already released.
Yeah.
As I said, it sounds a lot as if it's machine made or made
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah.
How do you, as an electronic artist, feel about the rise of AI in music? Not only in visuals, but in general?
It sucks. It's not real. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like there's no emotion behind doing it.
mhm,
Like that's so obviously that's so obviously like a scheme by people who use it
mhm,
to gain relevancy and
mhm,
importance through means that aren't their own.
mhm.
And they suck if they do that. That's what I think.
So basically, it's the lack of individual artistry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Mhm,
like it's like somebody who's like, "Oh, I really wish I could be an artist." And, "Oh, this is how I can pretend to be an artist is by using AI." You know what I
mhm,
mean? I that's just like I just don't agree with the whole I just don't agree with it existing in general
mhm,
to the scale in which AI exists, you know?
mhm. Yeah,
Like it's very terrifying. Like it could be really bad for like the whole world and humanity. That's what I think.
it probably can.
Yeah.
So let's go to the infamous quickfire round. You will always get two alternatives, and you have to choose one of
Okay.
them and give a short explanation. And I always try to, not always, but very often, I'll give you a European artist and an American one.
Okay.
Let's start with something a little bit more on the offside
Okay.
of choke chain. Giorgio Moroder versus Harold Faltermeyer.
Jojo Moroder for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Can you say why?
Uh just because it's like I said, like it's more European
Hmm.
influence stuff. That's just,
So let's see if you stick with that idea. Ministry versus Cress.
crass. Like a
Okay.
thousand. Well, I mean, like that's like one of the most like that band influenced a lot of like what I think about
Hmm.
everything, you know?
Hmm.
So like huge debt to them from me for sure.
Sisters of Mercy versus Susie and the Banshees.
Did you say Sisters of Mercy versus Susie?
Yes.
Uh Susie because Andrew Eldritch is a dick.
That's a good example. That is a
Yeah.
good answer. Let's give you two British acts,
Hmm.
or let's better say two British singles by British
Okay.
acts. Blue Monday versus
Uh-huh.
Just Can't Get Enough. New Order
Oh
versus
wow.
Depeche Mode.
Um I I'm gonna go with Depeche Mode for that one.
Okay.
Like Blue Monday's good, right? But
Yeah.
I think everyone's heard it too many times.
Yeah.
And like I think as I've gotten older, I've grown to like Depeche Mode more.
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah.
An American band with two records that I'll give you: Neurosis, Silver in Blood versus Pain of Mind.
Oh boy. Uh, Pain of Mind.
Okay. Um, Another American act, Offer and Punisher.
Okay.
Krüller, The Last Full Length versus Drone Machines.
Drone Machine.
Okay.
Yep.
And now we will have the one that you will probably hate me for. Two
Okay.
tracks by Rudimentary Peony, Rotten to the Core versus Quarter Dead.
Rotten to the core for sure.
Okay.
Um, 'Cause like that band or that track was like that rate really made me think about like the whole rock star
Mhm,
issue because that's what
mhm.
that song's about, you know. And
Yeah.
I was probably like 13 years old when I heard that, and I was like, "Whoa, dude!" Like, that made me realize that like obviously being a rock star sucks because you're just gonna get addicted to drugs and money, you know.
I decided to end these series of interviews always with the same two questions. So you'll
Okay.
be the first to answer.
Okay.
When you're in Tilburg in roughly a month, a little
Yep.
bit more than a month, which other gigs are you looking forward to see? Are there already acts where you see definitely want to see that?
Uh, I haven't necessarily looked at like the day list because I'm only gonna be there the day that I play.
On Friday?
Uh, I think is the body playing?
I've the body is playing two shows, and I think one of them is on Friday. Yes, let
Yeah,
me
because I
check.
want to see the body.
Hmm.
I really wanted to see Uniform, but they're
Hmm.
not playing on the day
Yeah, I
that
think
I'm
they're
playing.
playing on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, I really wanted to see Uniform.
Hmm.
Is Thou playing the day that I'm playing?
One of their projects is surely playing on that
Yeah.
Friday.
And there's a lot of bands that I'm like not necessarily familiar with that
Hmm.
like I just want to go and just be like, I've never heard of this band. I'm gonna
Hmm.
go see this band. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That
Yep.
seems to be what a lot of people like Roadburn for,
Yes, we do.
from what I've
We
seen.
really, yeah, we really do. I mean, there is always this thing where people say like, "Oh, it's not the old stoner metal road burn
Yeah,
anymore."
yeah. Because my older brother was telling me about how like, oh, you're playing like a stoner metal festival. I'm like, it's not really that anymore, from what
Not
I can
anymore.
tell. Yeah,
It is, and every year I open the list of announcements, and I'm like, I don't know 30% of them, and then I go
right,
and check them out, and it's always something different. It's always
right.
something different. So
Yeah.
I just looked it up for you. Vow is playing on
Okay,
Friday, and the
okay.
body is also playing on
Oh, great.
Friday.
Well, then good.
Um,
Cool.
I have a last question, and that is, of
Mhm.
course, something that you might not want to disclose at the moment. But can we expect any special things for your gig?
I'm gonna try and play brand new songs. Like
Mhm.
I'm gonna try and play stuff that's on my new record that's not out yet.
Cool.
I haven't necessarily decided like if that's actually gonna happen. But like I really do want to because I think it's like the best stuff I've written.
That is
Um,
always a good thing to say.
I don't know, like it, it's just gonna be me on
Mhm.
stage and people watching me, whatever. I think this festival is gonna be more receptive to like that whole idea than like playing to a bunch of pretentious goths, you know.
I
So I'm
I
very
do know what you
appreciative.
mean.
So I'm very excited for that.
It's a we as a whole. I think I can talk for most of the community. Very
Yeah.
appreciative of the outsiders in music.
Yeah.
M- Mark, thanks for all your time and for the
Yeah.
detailed answers. Everybody, if you want to see Mark perform at Roadburn, he will play on the back end, on the later half of April 18th. That is a
hmm
Friday. I
hmm
can't already tell you where he's going to play or which exact slot he's going to play, but just look out for it. And I think this could be the act that could move your feet most.
I
So,
hope so.
Mark, I also think so. So, Mark, thanks for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you.
See you in Tilburg. Bye bye.
hmm